It's also been epic in relation to what's going on in the wider world in terms of the coronavirus issues. And everything's becoming virtual because of it. Liz, could you mute yourself, please? I think Sue's going to do it. Okay. And we're going to be on. I'm going to be on very shortly. Hi, Dermot. Good evening. You can wave at me. That's fine. You don't need to unmute. Thank you. Yes, that's very good. Dermot is incarcerated in his apartment in Spain, where the lockdown is permanent and fulsome. I heard today that if you have able to take it within 50 meters of your house, there are €200 on the spot fines for people out and about without permission or without a legitimate reason. I mean, talk about draconian, crikey. It's looking like it might well become that way here. Okay, Sue's yelling at me now. She's wagging her finger saying it's 8 o'clock. You're still on camera, by the way, sweetheart. Yeah. So I'm going to get on with this. Thanks everyone for joining with me tonight. I am going to take you through this influencer call. This is about the Zinzino bringing itself into the UK. So much has changed in just the last week or so. However, having said that, Zinzino and its potential for improving health across the world has not changed, although it's capable of continuing to essentially build health amongst the great population. And I suspect this is going to be a really good time for us all in some ways, clearly not in many others, but in terms of helping to get the message across, the one that Zinzino is putting out, in helping people to fundamentally understand what's going on at the cellular level and how to actually take advantage of some of the product line that Zinzino has in helping to bring themselves back into balance, then this is relevant to you because Back into Balance is coming to the UK. And you'll hear more about my own story in a moment, which can not only convinces me, but inspires me to share this opportunity with people. So if you've been invited on this call, then that's because whoever's invited you, excuse me, as a guest, sees you as an entrepreneur and as a potential business partner who could take advantage of this year's launch of Zinzino in the UK. That means that the person also who invited you is also seeking a few partners right now during this launch phase to develop the Zinzino partner base here in the UK. We have a timeline of events, meetings, presentations in support of the launch phase. They've been modified somewhat because of the virus problem, but the goals remains exactly the same. This company is launching here, will launch here, we are launching it, we're just doing it more virtually than we were before. Instead of physical meetings, we're doing a lot more online stuff. We're making that available so that people can still get exposed to the information and get confidence about what we do. We're just not able to do that person to person. But strangely, the virtual world offers probably a greater opportunity than the physical world in terms of events right now, and also gives us the ability to communicate that very effectively with people. So those who opt to take part will access support, not normally available, from the company and get help to build a foundation for a global business. That support will be rolled out despite the fact that we're not holding physical meetings. And this initial timescale is to launch towards the end of May, the beginning of June this year. That's shifted back a wee bit because actually the restrictions on travel have impacted on our ability to hold a launch event. And therefore that will be a movable feast in terms of exactly when it takes place, based on what happens in the next month or two in regard to the restrictions on movement, meetings, and so on. So let's talk a bit about Zinzino. Zinzino as a business is expanding. it's expanding around the world. Currently, there's a market potential of over 1 billion people, of which 950 million are not in balance. You'll find out what I really mean by that in a minute. That means 95% of the people in the markets in which we are currently available, or Zinzino is currently available, are not in balance. This map is slightly out of date because the dark blue areas should show Australia, because that's now recently been opened. And we've got spots of blue that are darkening as countries that are not actually open yet are beginning to build distribution, because there is on the ground support from local people who are entrepreneurial enough to have decided that those markets will open with their support. So, for example, one of those is South Africa, which is busy building a base there with Kirsten and Sam right now as leading that, and very successfully doing so. So I would expect that South Africa will open later this year, along with a number of other countries, and those that are slated for launch over the next year to two. That may shift again because of these problems with the coronavirus, but the goal is exactly the same. They will get launched, the company will go global. The big countries to be launched in soon are India and China, which brings into play another 2.5 billion people or thereabouts. We are members of, on the NASDAQ. I don't know if any of you follow stock markets, but they have been in free fall over the last week to 10 days and continue to be. And Zinzino is no different, although its fundamentals are very, very, very good. If you look at them and you understand those things, then you'll see that Zinzino's share price, whilst it has fallen, is still fundamentally very, very sound, and of course will rise again as all these issues begin to disappear. We're members of the Direct Selling Association, and double-digit growth continually over the last 10 years since the company initially floated. So more than double-digit, in fact, 30% or thereabouts plus every single year. Very strong financially. So just by way of illustration, I put this slide together a little while back in relation to its growth over the last few years. As you can see, it's been a continual upswing, very much so in the last year to 18 months. Last year was record, and it's continued to grow. January and February were record months. We will see whether that's going to be continued, but we know that it's a solid opportunity for anyone becoming involved. So what's happening here? What is it that's driving this? Well, according to our results, and I'll share with you what that means in a moment, but 95% of the population is out of balance. What is that? What is this out of balance? What is it? What are we talking about? Well, excuse me, we consume way too much omega-6 and far too little omega-3. Why is that important? Well, the omega the omega nutrients are essential fatty acids. What that means is you have to get them in diet. Omega-6 is prevalent in pretty much all of the meats and processed foods that we have. Fats, particularly hydrogenated fats, cooking oils, and so on. Omega-6 is available in linseed and in salmon, as you can see, and in avocado, things like that, but we don't eat enough of that. So what's happening is we are actually out of balance as a consequence. Too much 6, not enough omega-3. And that balance is also impacted by not enough polyphenols, as well as low vitamin D3 levels. Now, what the research has shown is that those things in combination are necessary in order for us to actually be in balance. So what's the task of omega-3, the one that we're lacking? Well, it's the essential building material for every single membrane of every single cell in our body. So if a body is made up of 100 trillion cells, they're the building blocks of the entire organism, and they're constantly being renewed. You know, the whole body changes all the time. So if we don't have enough omega-3, there's a cascading effect of opening the potential for problems, because we're not balanced. So what happens is that the omega-3 impacts the cell wall in ways which mean that
it actually becomes harder because there's not enough of it. So by being harder, it means that the transmission of the good things in, the nutrients into the cell, and the export of the things that are the rubbish from it are just simply not happening effectively. So Zinzino produced the balance oils. And this is the product that's been driving the business over the last few years and still does, although Zinzino has a combination of other products as well that also make an impact and work alongside the balance oil to go on improving health. But the Zinzino balance oil is a unique formulation optimally protected from oxidation by olive oil. That's cold pressed, early harvested olive oil when the polyphenols are at their greatest, about 2 months before the normal harvest time. And I don't know whether any of you have ever eaten a raw olive straight off the tree. It's unbelievably bitter. And that's the polyphenols giving you that bitterness. But they in turn help to protect the oil itself from oxidizing. Of course, oxidation means it's breaking down. So by protecting it from that oxidation process, it helps us to absorb it more effectively within your body. So what Zinzino's also done is to create the dosage based on weight. So you get the optimal amount of weight, of product rather, for the weight you are. Strangely enough, it tastes fantastic, which is, you know, if any of you have been an omega-3 supplement user, which I have over many years, and it's based on fish oils, then you know that very often they taste really quite strong. Well, Zinzino's does not do that. It's actually very, very easy to take. It's been flavored with additional flavorings in order to make it even more palatable. So you don't get that problem with it tasting perhaps too fishy. It's a comprehensive product approved for health claims by the EFSA and the FDA. So what about testing? How can we make this claim? Well, I checked the website before tonight's call, zinzinotest.com. And on the front page of that it states the number of tests they've actually carried out so far. And you can see it's very, very close to 500,000. Now half of that data set is the biggest in the world in terms of measuring omega-3 levels in humans. That's how we know 95% are out of balance, because as you can see here on the right, only 5% of Europeans are at a 3-to-1 ratio or better. 3-to-1 is about where we function well at 3-to-1. The ideal is, absolute ideal is 1-to-1, but getting below 3-to-1 or 3-to-1 or thereabouts is okay. It's, you know, it's a good place to be. 20% of those people that take supplements with omega-3 fatty acids have an average ratio of 7-to-1. Well, that's where I was when we first came across Zinzino last May, end of last May, in fact, early June. I started taking the oil because, and I took the test, and I was amazed that I came back worse than 7-to-1, having been an omega-3 supplement taker for probably 30 years all in all. I came back at 14.4-to-1. So I was pretty much the average of Europe, as you can see here, 75% that don't take a dietary supplement, average 15-to-1 or more. So hang on a minute. Here I was spending quite a lot of money on a monthly basis for an omega-3 supplement that was doing me no good at all on the basis of these tests, because I was virtually 15-to-1. So I don't know how much money I wasted in the previous however many years it was. And I, you know, looking back on that, I'm thinking, well, that's kind of guessing about whether the supplements work if you're taking them, which I had been. Now we're in this era of test-based provability. What Zinzino's pioneered here is the validation of its product by having a test that's independently carried out by VITAS, who are a laboratory that many people use, including the World Anti-Doping Organization and Olympic testing and various things about people like that, independently, because they're managed independently and there is no bias in terms of the results. After the second test, as you see on the right here, 95% who use the balanced oil are at a 3-to-1 or better. Well, guess what? After I'd been taking it, my second test, I came back at 2.7 to 1, which is well within the 3-to-1 ratio. So the product absolutely works, and it's not expensive by comparison with others. So Zinzino's market's being driven by this test-based process with a product that actually works, and it can be proved to work. So we know now, I mean, slightly out of date, this slide, over 460,000, as you can see, it's over 490,000 now, have been independently tested. It's the largest database of omega-6 to 3 results in the world, bar none. That's resulted in over 230,000 monthly subscriptions for the product. And of course, that ultimately means millions of bottles of oil have already been consumed. So this is a product that has a place. We can prove it has a place. People go on buying it because they know it works. And you can't get omega-3s, etc. in your diet. So if you were out of balance when you took the original test, if you stop today, having got back into balance, in around 120 days' time, you're pretty much going to be back where you started before you began. So this is a product for life once people begin to understand the impact, the effect it actually has. So why choose Zinzino? Real customers getting real results. And there is what we call the Z4 for free program, which essentially means even as a customer, if you find 4 other friends who decide they want to use it and they become customers, then you as the customer get your product for free. All you pay for is the shipping. And that means that what we have is a consumer-based process driving consumption. So we get a high retention rate, very high retention rate, which is extremely good for the company long-term, and for us as partners, even better, because essentially it gives us the opportunity to have repeat business that goes on paying, having found the customer. Over 31,000 people currently get their monthly subscriptions for free. And as you can see, there is an incentive to do that. In addition, there's a customer money back results guarantee. So there's really nothing to lose. That's applied if someone decides to buy the product, takes the test, having not been using Zinzino products already, they come back in balance, then they have the option to get their money back for their initial order based on the fact that they're already in balance. I don't know anyone who's actually exercised that right, because they recognize how good and how price effective Zinzino products are. Also, excuse me, Zinzino is a company with a very solid set of values and culture. It's publicly traded, which means there is full transparency from a financial point of view. It's a young business. It's unlike me, it's young and dynamic, energetic and passionate in terms of their founders. I picked up on that. I want to stay as young as I can for as long as possible, despite the fact I've been around the sun a few more times than a lot of other people. And that drive, ambition, and focus is something that's pushing Zinzino forward along this trajectory of test-based validation for the products. And that's going to widen in terms of scope as we go forward, which means it's going to be much, much simpler for us to demonstrate the effectiveness of a product. Leadership, servant-led, it's really a question of what more can we do for you as a customer and or as a partner. And this actively encourages, of course, and supports entrepreneurship. That's what the company's about, ultimately. It's building its organization and its customers through the network of entrepreneurs. That means there's a potential here for literally anyone who'd like to have their own business. Not on their own, but being supported by the sponsor, the sponsorship line, the company itself, as a dynamic organism pushing people towards or helping people to focus towards whatever it is they want to get out of their lives. That's through the family community. Live, inspire, and change. Essentially, it's helping people to focus upon driving that change that they want for themselves through their association and partnership with Zinzino. Sorry, fun, fun, and fun. You know, at the end of the day, if you're not enjoying something, if you're not enjoying doing what you do as a business, you're probably not going to succeed at the level you perhaps like to. What I've found over the many years I've been involved in businesses, those who are excited and passionate about what they do tend to be more successful. So why choose Zinzino? Well, we talked about company, culture, simplicity of the test concept, the Z for Free program, which promotes other people buying product through their association with it because it works. There's a car program because the company wants to express your success. And I've never met this in any other networking business which I've either witnessed, been part of, or observed over many years. There is training, mentoring, and personal development to help you succeed in ways I've never seen in any other business. And on the back of that, of mobile technology and apps, which help to support that, especially now, where so much of our communication is now virtual rather than physical. The technology and the apps are much more effective in helping us to do that, and are really essential in this time where we're in kind of physical lockdown. So this is a business for everyone. Zinzino has been very careful to make sure that it's got a business that appeals to new people, is not fashioned and built upon other people being stolen from other networks, brought in for short-term gain. Zinzino's business is all based upon its long-term strategy. And that is about sustainability in terms of its customer base, its partner relationships, and helping new people to get new people. Because this industry, profession, only expands if we're bringing in new blood. How do you bring in new blood? We bring in people who are looking for opportunity and are confident that they can actually make it work as far as the partnership with Zinzino as a business. This is not a bring them in business, build it in the short run. This is build it for the long term. New thinking, customer focused program. As I've mentioned, it is simple, it's social, it's fun. Literally anyone can do it. The real question is whether people choose to. There is a mass market appeal. We know 95% of people are out of balance. 7 billion people on the planet. What's that? Over 6 billion are out of balance, if those numbers are correct, right the way across the board. What it really means is there's opportunity here. There's a mass market appeal, and it's a very, very simple message that we're saying. I got asked one simple question, which is relevant to this last line here, which is, do you take an omega-3 supplement? My answer was yes. And the follow-up was, how do you know it works? What could I say? I had no idea. I just knew I had to have it because my diet was, as I knew then, that it was too rich in omega-6. I wasn't getting enough 3. I'm not a great fish lover, so I wasn't eating salmon or mackerel or herring or any of those those things with rich omega-3 content. So I was supplementing in order to get the balance. And as I know now, that was wasted money. I wasn't in balance. I am now. So why choose Zinzino? Well, perhaps it's important to understand the position that we're all in, because the company's goals are to hit. And this is where what I meant earlier when I said about strategic. And the thinking is where they want to be over the next few years. Well, there's 1 million customers by 2025. On the current trajectory, that will be hit by 2023. If that's the case, then these other numbers that follow are going to be brought forward a bit. 10 million by 2035. So we hit it by 2023, then you can probably say 2030 for 10 million around the world. That's partly driven by more people in the markets in which Zinzino already trades, picking it up, but also in the new markets where we've got huge potential that has not yet been realized. And then in 100 million by 2050. Well, Zinzino's hit the numbers it's wanted to hit every single year. It's moving forward, and it's not complacent about those numbers, and it's not relying on them being driven by new countries. It's growing in all its existing markets. So it's adding new countries in order to break those markets as well. And that means there's layer upon layer upon layer of new customers becoming involved. So the global omega-3 market's already 50 billion a year. That's going to grow as people begin to realize, A, that their diets aren't good enough to give them what they need in them, and B, their recognition of their need to supplement rises, which it is doing all the time. And you've got the opportunity to earn a little bit of this UK, to set yourself up to lead within this market, and then into Europe and Asia. We're already, as I said, opening in other countries. We all, personally, Sue and I, as a business, we already have people in other parts of the world who've come as a consequence of our relationships with partners here in the UK. And that's just the way it grows. That's what's available now. So we're also with you here all the way with unparalleled UK-based leadership, driving this market forward. And there's potential here for a very large opportunity. So how do we get paid? It's proven and it works. 600 people plus have now qualified for the CARD program. Many of the top earners have never been in MLM before. Why is that important? Because if you're someone who's been in MLM before, it means there's new blood coming in all the time. That means that the opportunity is growing, externally growing. It's not feeding off the MLM profession. So it's bringing in new people all the time. The majority of people make money, not just a few of them. And it's a simple plan to explain with a simple message and, relatively speaking, a simple path to success. We have in place a system. See, the basic action of any network is to duplicate activity so that the people who decide to become partners do the same things as those of us already involved. That's written in this blueprint of success, starting from the left-hand side here, where we've got a comprehensive, essentially, blueprint of the way to run this as a business. Business opportunity brochure, the GoCore app. This is unique in my experience in MLM, where most of the time you pay to witness the activity and the training of top leaders and people around the world who've helped you just personally develop. The GoCore app is hundreds of hours of training available to us as a partner with Zinzino, enabling you to get into perhaps areas you've never been in before in terms of understanding more about you and what you want, and what you need to do in order to try and improve your own results. And then there's the on-phone app, which helps you to communicate. That's another unique. Zinzino's got tools here that nobody else has. Why choose us? Well, Zinzino, timing's perfect. You know, we're just starting here in the UK. It really is a giant company, just beginning. 80 million euros in turnover last year. It's not much in the great scheme of things. But when you look at the track record of growth, the attitude and the culture of the business itself, the continued growth at 30% a year, you know, this is a business that's already got the solid foundation ready for those of us who wish to partner with it and who can see the future in relation to its potential. This is the right moment to become involved. So it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I've mentioned it before, it's a global expansion already strategically planned. 20 new countries in the next 2 years, including India and China. The market for them, for the products that we have, is growing all the time. Right time, right place, right opportunity. Perfect timing. So, what now? Firstly, I'd encourage you to talk to the person who invited you on the call. But essentially, as a partner, there are three, actually this is slightly wrong now, there is a fourth as of today, which I haven't included in this. And I'm sure the person who invited you will be able to share that detail with you as well. But ultimately, as a business person looking at this, the ultimate package is the one that is the most effective solution. Why? It's the only one of these packages that carries a full refund guarantee after 12 months if you've created 25 personal subscriptions in that 12-month period. And for business people, I'm absolutely certain, I know for a fact, it's not easy, but it's relatively straightforward to create those 25 subscriptions. You get your money back on your 995 euros, which is the ultimate product, the ultimate package price to begin with. So I don't know of any other opportunity that gives you that. You know, you don't go to McDonald's, give them £1 million and then get it back after 12 months. It just doesn't work that way. You have to work for it over some years in order to get back your capital. This is an illustration of what we do on a day-by-day basis, what we are doing on a day-by-day basis to help you access the information you need to share with other people. Because ultimately, this is about a sharing business and doing it consistently the same way. And so these influencer calls, these calls during the week as a webinar, business opportunity meeting as a webinar, and as a product call as well. We do those through the week in order to give you access to those for your own people, the people that you're inviting onto the call. We record, or we have recorded, and we change every month, the recording of an influencer phone recording. That's available 24/7 on a simple dial-in number on a 10-minute conversation to just spark someone's interest and then bring them on to a further call to get further information. So that's there to help support you in your initial recruitment effort. And Zinzino is here in the UK to stay, despite this challenge that we have right now. We're continuing to expand it. We're just doing it virtually rather than physically. And we'll continue doing these webinars and calls regularly throughout the week. And whoever invited you on tonight would love to treat you as a partner and has invited you to become as a partner because they're looking to build a solid foundation for their own business development here in the UK and see you as a part of that, if that's what you wish for. What we have in place is everything you need in order to begin to build your own organization. So thank you everyone for your time and attention tonight. That's the end of tonight's call. There'll be another call on this subject next week. Thank you.